Hey y'all, it's Wildcat6305 coming at you from Ike's Treehouse outside of Atlanta, Georgia. And this is the rest of my July 1939 turn. So the board is actually at the end of the turn. I got all the way through and realized, hey, I didn't shoot an intro for this video. So here it is. So I broke up. So normally what I've been doing is uh, all the turns, just one big turn summary video. However, the German turn was so long that I split it up, and it's already been on YouTube for a while. And so this is just the rest of it. So as I'm calling it, the rest, the rest. So this is going to be Soviets, Japanese, common turn, Italy, U.S., and so on. But just wanted to shoot this real quick, just so you knew, gave an intro of what it was, because if not, I would have just gone straight into doing the turn, and you'd been like, "Where's Germany?" So if you haven't watched the German video yet, go watch it. It's Germany, July 1939. But if you have, then stay tuned for the Soviets. Common turn. Uh, so the I'll start with the easy one first. KMT had 4 IPP, so they got stuff for a mountain infantry. So it's right here. I didn't put the dude on it because I'm actually running short on KMT dudes, and if anything, it's probably just going to be a great ship that gets put on the board. So I didn't worry about going through that whole deal there. And then Soviet Union. So what they ended up doing, what they ended up purchasing this round. Uh, so they got a free tech roll from Molotov Ribbentrop pack, and then they also purchased a tech roll. So they rolled those for heavy armor and advanced artillery. So they got both of those. So they're now at stage 3, advanced artillery and heavy armor. Um, and let's see. So they purchased a minefield, and then they also cashed in one of their oils for supply tokens to do that with the minefield as well. And that's how they bought the minefield. So they'll be deploying this um, in a zone with the combat engineer right here. So right here was so, it just left me. Anyways, pronunciation was right on the tip of my tongue, and it walked out, and my brain oozed out on the floor. So back up. So for 4 IPP, they are completing the railroad that they need, a part of the Alaska expansion, to build Lend Lease with the Americans. Since the Americans are now at 16 IPP, it felt like that'd be a good thing to do. Since they could actually get Lend Lease now, or are getting closer to it. They got to go to war, but either way, that seemed like that'd be behoove of them to take off with that. And then for the rest of their build, I was thinking about building mechanized infantry, but then really kind of starting to scrutinize and look at what's going to happen. And I mean, um, in all reality, the Germans are going to come in and they're going to blow through all this here. And with heavy armor attacking and blitzing, we really need to shore up this line. And so the best way, I mean, infantry defend out of 4. The only things that they could buy at this moment in time that defend better are a tactical bomber and fighter, and those are kind of, I mean, for one more point, for one more pip, get a tactical bomber. For 2, it'd be a fighter, but you're talking about 7 to 8 more IPP, or 8 to 7, respectively, worth of IPP. So that the value in that, just being a value bargain shopper here, not really seeing that in this. So kind of rethinking about how I feel with the with like the light armor that I've bought so far, but it's on the board. It's there right now. What I'm probably planning on doing is probably about 90%, and until they go to war, and maybe even beyond. But with the Soviets, until I get to a comfortable level, it's probably just going to be infantry, and probably about 90% infantry and 10% artillery, including anti-air. So we'll just kind of play that one by ear, but probably not going to be building a lot more fancy units, or not that I was building too terribly many anyways. So built so we're building 4 infantry and then 1 militia, just because we had the 2 IPP left and probably could have saved it. It's going to be probably just as, yeah, I don't know, it may be better if we saved it, but at the same time, I'd rather get troops on board too. Because the thing I'm thinking of is that surprise attack. On the attack, the first, you got to think and keep in mind that when the Germans attack the Soviets for the first time, or if they're at peace and the Germans attack the Soviets, everything's -1. So this militia dude, I mean, he's going to be defending at a 1. So he may not be worth buying, but yeah, I'm about talking myself out of it. We're going to get our 2 IPP back and just save it for next round for something. So talk myself out of buying that militia. So put that up. So now we got some combat moves that we're going to make. Going to start taking some of these neutrals. Probably the big one. Obviously, we're going to take our share of the Molotov-Ribbentrop pack of the secret dependencies there to take this side of Poland, and then take Lithuania, and then I'm going to double check, crunch my numbers, make sure I'm looking good to go into Venturi, and that's what we're planning. Oh, and also probably want to try to take a little bit of Iran, and we're just going to go ahead and take out that cavalry in Mongolia. So then that way, if the Japanese want to take the rest of Mongolia, they actually have to declare war on us and go the full extent. So, well, all right. All right. Well, I went ahead and knocked out the Soviet turn. I think I left you on the place or on the purchase units, but we just went ahead and rolled through combat moves and just went on and did the combat as well, which there really wasn't that much combat. There was 1 infantry right there. There was 1 infantry in eastern Poland, and so we went in with a motorized and infantry. We're able to, oh, and this fighter right here. You can't see it. Here we go. So went in with that, with the fighter right here and the infantry and motorized, and took eastern Poland. And I'm just going over the real combats. We had to combat move into Lithuania, and then let's see. Oh, and then we took was it? My mind just went blank. Venturi. Venturi? Yeah. Anyway, so took that. So that was a very challenging combat right there. So I'm playing with the elite guard units, and part of that rules is that you can't promote to a guard unit by invading, like if you do Winter War. However, I felt that was kind of a little bit unbalanced to just say that flat out. So what I did was I went with the out of box guard rules. So for every casualty they suffered, rolled a dice, and on a 12 you promote that many or you promote however many of those make 12 to guard. So I felt like that was a fair compromise. So they ended up having, so the Russians took 6 casualties, and the Finnish, there were 7 of them, but the Russians took 6 casualties, and let's see, so yeah, and they rolled, and none of them hit guard units. Nobody made a 12. So that was kind of left up there. And then part of with the Winter War, so there's Sissy militia and there's Yiddy Jaeger, and so there were 3 Sissy militia, and there were 4 Yiddy Jaegers. And so the Sissy militia, whenever they're eliminated, if you're playing with the partisan expansion, that tosses in, or they if you kill a Sissy militia, they become a partisan automatically. So we got partisans in Finland now. Outside of that, and then the combat moved into Iran, into this territory here in Iran, and then they also took this Mongolian territory here as well. There was one Mongolian cavalry, and we just kind of took that, and it's there now. So the other thing, Finland here, so they were within range of Leningrad, and so with my hospital rules, they were within range of the hospital. So I ended up saving or rescuing, how many is that? 2 ski troops. And then the Finns, they were within 1 of their, they were within 1 of Helsinki. So they were able to save a Yiddy Jaeger on that too. So next turn, so next year, on the next turn, or next 6 months, they'll be able to come out, and the Russians will be able to place those 2 ski troops anywhere where there's a hospital, and cities that have innate hospitals in them. And same thing with the Finns. I'll do it on the German turn. They'll be able to place a couple more Yiddy Jaegers there. So don't really know if that was something I should have done for a controlled minor, but I felt like, hey, why not? So they're a controlled minor. Let's do it for them. And then let's see. Okay, then the other thing, CCP rolled for partisan, or rolled for partisans. I forgot to roll for the partisans over here in China before the German turn, which I should have done, but really more procedural than anything else. I remember to do it before the Russians did any combat moves, so I kind of took care of that. But there were only 2. There were 3, because that's a CCP partisan, and then this is the CCP, and then there's one right here off on this task force board. Sorry for being confusing, but these 2 guys are actually CCP, so they're the same thing as purple. Haven't repainted them yet. So all the CCP partisans, they didn't do anything. So very, very worth the time. But just kind of, they're pretty much at the point, CCP and KMT, of just being reactionary. I don't see them striking out anything offensively until you get some serious backing from either FEC or the U.S. I mean, the Russians really aren't going to do anything more with CCP right now. They probably could next turn, but I mean, they barely have enough troops sitting here on this border to do anything, much less help CCP. So yeah, so I think that's all the moves that I made and that I wanted to make sure I covered. Yeah, didn't do too much there on this turn. However, I guess I'll just take a quick shot of the board here. Probably can't make out those numbers, but at the end of January 39, uh, the Soviets were at 8, and now they're at 35. And so their full wartime income would be 51 if they were attacked. So that's still getting up there. So that's kind of with the territorial bonuses that they took and taking Poland. The big thing was they got a couple of decent rolls when Germany took off up here. They had to roll. They had to roll for Romania, and that gave them an 8. And then they rolled, I think, another 6. Yeah, this turn, and then they added 5 or 6 territories. So it's been a good turn for the Russians, being able to be at 35 IPP, and then of course with my house rule, my economic stimulus rule, they are actually sitting at $55 for 55 IPP for the next turn. So that will be exciting for the Russians for sure. Kind of makes me question some of the earlier decisions of should I've been as stingy as I had been with the Russians, but oh well. What's done is done. It's in the past. But yeah, other than that, I can't think of anything else the Russians had going on. Just move some dudes around up here on this front line. Just prepping. Um, just starting to kind of try to build a little bit of depth here up front, just to be able to be prepared to handle the blitz. I use that term loosely. Handle. They're going to get crushed if it happens anytime soon. I did move these ships from here to over to here to protect that transport. So, well, all right. Well, that's all I got for the Soviets. So we'll be moving on to Japanese. Japanese purchases. So they had 42 IPP to start the turn to spend. So we are purchasing a battleship, a Yamato battleship. I'm sorry, and then 2 destroyers and a cruiser, and so that was 16 IPP. Since we have improved shipyards now that it's July 39, you get a 2 IPP discount on all of those. Then we're building 2 mechanized infantry and a normal infantry, strat bomber, and then we have a tech roll here. And we're going to roll for long range aircraft. So we need a 7 for this. And we got an 8. So they are now stage 3. They are now stage 3 long range aircraft. So getting close to having that one complete. So, all right, well, we will figure out what combat moves we want to make here. Okay, so the Japanese combat moves, just kind of show you what we're doing. We're going to invade communist China, and then I can't read whatever territory. I got too much stuff on there, but these 2 territories we're attacking. Essentially, we had some planes sitting here. So you had some dudes sitting here as well, and then coming from these territories, surrounding territories. So the goal is with this would be obviously to kind of wipe out the CCP, regular units here, but then also it would reduce the size of the front that Japan has with China here. So if we can eliminate communist China and eliminate this, then we'll just have essentially these three border territories where we can kind of build a front and push down. So that's the goal. And then we're also going to try to eliminate these partisans scattered around here, um, all over. So, all right. Well, that's what we got. So I won't get the. Well, I already got one of these chipped out, but we'll or move to the battle board. So we'll get that going. All right. So we got the Japanese attack on communist China. So they're going into a mountain territory. So they are. So all the land units are -1. Nobody is crossing a river to get into communist China. Everybody's all the land units are going from mountain to mountain, and then the air units they're moving in. So, all right, well, we'll just go ahead and start rolling it out. So we got my first strikes here with the self-propelled and artillery, and one of them hit. So we can go ahead and remove one of those. So that will take the militia hit on the militia, obviously. And yeah, all right. So now we'll roll. So you roll the plane first. So we got an 8 and a 6. So the so the fighter hit. So that's one hit. And let's see. Then we'll roll the rest of the dudes. They're looking pretty good so far. Alright, so all the big stuff missed. Everybody missed. So they have one guy that survived. Alright, so make the defending rolls. And they both missed. So we will. Or wait, no. They got one hit. Yes, they got one hit. So we will remove the casualties and do round 2. Well, since the Japanese took a casualty, I was able to redo my dice real quick. So now I can just make one roll. I think I failed to point out that this dude, he was at a 3 because he got the bonus. No, he was at a 2 because he got the bonus from the artillery. He would have been out of the 1. The motorized was out of 1, so I took the casualty on him, and then the motorized is pairing with the artillery, and then my house rule is armored cars pair with artillery to give a +1. All right, let's see. Tactical missed, fighter hit, and we got 1, 2. Back row hit too. That was a 1, and looks like everybody else missed. So they got 3 hits on one dude. So that's pretty good. So let's see if he hit anybody. And he hit an 8, so no. So all right, well, so the Japanese took communist China, and we'll move to the next one. Okay, have the Japanese attack in Szechuan. So we are it is a mountain territory. Nobody's crossing any rivers. So however, there's commanders on both sides. If you can see them, these are my commander pieces. So the mountain infantry are defending out of 5, and then the regular infantry, he gets bumped up to a 5 because of the commander. What else? Okay, so all the land units should have a -1. And then as far as pairings and all that kind of stuff, they would get back to normal. However, with the commander gives a +1 back that they were getting the -1 for fighting in mountains, so everybody's just fighting at their base attack value, no modifiers anyway. And then the planes are +1 as well. So we'll go ahead and roll our first strike on the self-propelled. 10, so he missed. All right, and then roll the planes. All right, it's 4, 7, 7. So they hit and they took. So the planes did the job here. So they took all of them out. So let's see what CCP does. 2, 2, and 6. So they got 2 hits on that. So they will take out these 2 infantry here. Take casualties on that, and the Japanese won the day. Now I guess while I go ahead and got it, we'll make the escape roll. What is it? I think it's a 12 for the commander. Let's say, yeah, if he rolls a 12, he's eliminated. So he rolled a 4, so he escapes. So he will non-combat to somewhere. Yeah, so he'll non-combat out. So, but all right, now we'll roll our partisans. Okay, so I just went ahead and made all my partisan combat rolls and or trying the attacking of the partisans, and really everybody missed the partisans. Here in Formosa, let's see there, let's see, which is in J-Hole. The only one that hit was up here in northern Manchuria. That was the only partisan that got eliminated this round. I missed that one too. Went ahead and made my and then the other thing, in reading the rules, Siam, I really wasn't sure what point they're supposed to align in the Japanese turn in July 39. So I kind of just went ahead and did that as the last thing in the combat moves of the Japanese. So I just went ahead and aligned that. And let's see what else. Yeah, so made my non-coms, got the planes situated where they need to be. The sets of fighters and tactical bombers that attacked in here. Put 2 over here, and then the rest of them are there, and with this number 5 task force marker. So mission accomplished of what the Japanese were trying to do. We now have a nice little 1 barrier with the KMT. So eliminated the CC. Well, not quite eliminated. There's 1 more CCP back up here that we'll need to take care of. But the bulk, establish that front. That's manageable. This was kind of that was looking unmanageable there. So we'll work on that, and so we'll go ahead and collect income. Got a destroyer flipped over there. So we will go ahead and move to place units and collect income. Collected income for Japanese, they are up to 33 base income, and so they collected 150% rounded up, so they are at 51 IPP that they collected this round. So one thing that I forgot that I did before I moved on was I was going to I'd non-con or strategic railed a heavy infantry from up here down to Zhejiang, I'm guessing. I don't know. And then I also moved a motorized from up here. He moved 2 non-combat to 3, so kind of de-escalating the border up there. So the Russians really don't have a whole lot up there, but yeah, we can worry about that. We still got plenty of time left in the game, so but so we'll procrastinate trying to have a Soviet Japanese build up there. And other than that, oh, I know what I was going to say. So the Japanese are making oil now. However, this territory is not connected, is not in a supply path. So they're going to have to build a rail right here. So that's going to be 8 IPP because it's a mountain rail. So they are going to have to do that next turn, start that next turn. They probably should have started it this turn, but the Japanese player didn't catch that. So we'll have to start the rail for next time. They'll take 2 turns to complete, and then we can actually start using this oil. So right now the oil, they're still just running off of their reserves of what they have on oil. And then same thing here. Took Siam, got this oil, but it's not. Well, I guess it's in supply path now. I think I don't know. No, there's no rail here, so this oil they're capturing is not in supply path, so they can't get it back to themselves to use it yet. So, but that was it. I don't think there was anything else I missed as I'm looking around. So, move on to the Commonwealth. All right, the Commonwealth builds. So UK starting out here, you're going to have 1 tech roll. They're going to build 2 infantry, and then they're going to build a rail. And this rail is going to go here in Africa, and so we can start utilizing this factory in South Africa. And then also they're going to put 2 cruisers and a battleship on the production chart, and they're building 2 destroyers. So that's 25 IPP right there. No, 15 IPP right there. And so then that adds up to their total 27 IPP that they had at the beginning of the turn. Canada is going to just save their $5. FEC is going to build a fighter and save $1. Anzac is going to put a cruiser on the board and save their 5 because they're wanting to buy a fighter so they could buy one next turn. And then the Dutch are just going to put a militia on, and then easy build for Free French for the Free France. They don't have any money, so. All right, well, so we are not at war. We could declare war on the Germans, but however, that would not give us the income increases for the rest of the Commonwealth, even though the UK is at full wartime income. We want the access to attack us, and then that will rocket FEC, ANZAC, and Canada to their full wartime incomes. Because if not, we're just going to be they're going to be stuck there, and we can't really increase until somebody attacks us. And the way it's looking, it doesn't seem probable. The Japanese player could do anything, but it doesn't really seem probable that the Japanese is going to attack anybody over here anytime soon, because it looks like they're pretty well tied up in China for the next couple turns. But yeah, but Germany, that looks between Germany and Italy. Somebody may try to do a can opener, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Germans start trying to knock out some of these British guys here. So, all right, well, we'll move on to the non-combat moves. Okay, summary of the Commonwealth turn. So, one thing that I did before I made my combat moves that I added to my purchases before I went to the next phase, I decided to buy 1 influence from FEC, and we influenced the Irish, and so got one closer to aligning Ireland to UK. So one thing in the diplomacy rules, it says you got to be at full wartime income. So the UK is at full wartime income, but I used the IPP from FEC. But with the whole Commonwealth thing, just my interpretation of it is, as UK needs to be at full wartime income. Maybe not necessarily everybody a part of it, because UK is the one that can decide to go to war or not. But then I figured it really didn't matter which part of the Commonwealth, kind of like buying a technology. It doesn't matter which one of the Commonwealth buys it, it works for all of them. So that's one little thing that just kind of, there wasn't really a clear, explicit rule on it. However, I just kind of went off of other precedences set in other rulings. So that's one thing I wanted to add real quick there. Made all my non-combat moves and placed units. So really didn't move too much stuff around. We just, like right here in India, there was a dude here in Bombay. We moved him up there. There's another dude back here that we moved here. So just kind of minor things. Moved a cruiser and a destroyer down here to C Zone 79. Here, let me turn the light on real quick. I didn't realize how dark it got all of a sudden in here. But moved the destroyer and cruiser down here to C Zone 79. I'm going to leave the cruiser here, and they both stopped. My intention is to move the destroyer down another two to right in here to escort duty here. I am playing with rank carcasses, convoy ruling, kind of pretty much out of box, but rather than them protecting the escort, protecting the entire line, it's only the zone they're in and the next zone to either side. So if you need more details on that, go watch one of his videos. But let's see, the other thing, yeah, that was all my movements. But then as far as placing units, I placed a destroyer here in C Zone 25. No, I'm sorry, here in C Zone 24. And then I placed a destroyer down here in South Africa. My intent for him is going to be to move him to where he's protecting one of these lines as well. To moving one of these, I'll either move him here to do escort. I may move him here to do escort. Haven't decided. We'll see what happens there. And then let's see so Anzac placed a cruiser on the build chart. Let's see, the Dutch placed a militia here in Borneo, and FEC placed a fighter. And was that it? I think that was all my builds. Oh, and then I placed another dude in London, and I placed a dude here in Egypt. So, in Cairo. Yeah, so I think that's all that we did so far on this turn. So really not a lot happening. Oh, and we're going to lend lease this oil to ourselves. So I think I may have stated it incorrectly with the oil rules on one of my prior videos. I think some of the text gets kind of wordy, and so you have to have, so the oil field, so like an oil reserve, has to have a supply path. You got to be able to trace a supply path back to a major factory in your home country. So I think I kind of read that. I think I read it wrong, where I added a comma in there somewhere. So, but anyway, so the oil, to be able to use, well, that's a bad example, but to be able to use the oil here that the British have in southern Iran, because they get the oil produced by this oil derrick here, they don't access the reserve here. But to use that oil, it has to be in the supply path back to a major factory up in London, because that's the only place that you have a major factory for the Commonwealth. However, that's just tracing a supply path. That's not subject to interdiction. But what the UK, what the Commonwealth has to be wary of is the locations of where their oil is. So here we have the Russians coming down. They took this part of Iran. So they're needing to be mindful of this area, and with Turkey here, they could explode and take these areas. So you don't want to leave oil sitting somewhere that could be captured. That's where, when you move, you can lend lease oil to yourself to get it around to another reserve somewhere on the board. So they lend lease the oil from here up, and actually we're going to lend lease it to, because I'm just assuming you can have to read into this, but I'm going to lend lease it to Anzac at this moment in time. Really doesn't say you can't do it, but it really doesn't say you can do it. So, and if you've played this game, you know what I'm talking about when I say that. So, that's that. Oh, and then other non-combat moves here too. The Anzac moved. So last turn we had this cruiser and transport were sitting here off of was it Papua New Guinea, and so they moved them down to here, picked up, and the transport was needing to pick up, or well, because I was wanting to get some more guys out here on the islands somewhere, so moved them down here last turn. So this turn moved them here one, picked up armor division and a infantry division. Now I could have picked up two infantry divisions and two armor divisions, but all I really had to move was one division each. But then moved those divisions up here and deployed them on Fiji. So essentially, when you start thinking about what you're trying to do out here in the islands, you just got to think, if you have fighters and bombers, so if a bomber can hit, so a strat bomber can go 6. Say the Japanese took the Solomon Islands, then that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So a strat bomber could come from so if they took the Solomon Islands and my house rule build an airfield, then they could land a strat bomber in Solomon Islands and then come take Fiji. Kind of that same way from Fiji, they could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they could, if they built an airfield on Fiji, they could attack New Zealand. And if you attack New Zealand, you can attack mainland Australia. Or, even one of these two. I mean, you could come from here and attack them. You can come from Fiji and 1, 2, 3 and attack mainland Australia. Any one of these islands here. So just trying to get some dudes out there to start covering the base, because that's really all we can do. That's the best defense, is getting somebody out here to try to maybe take one guy out when the Japanese come invading full force, trying to take islands and trying to knock out Anzac. So I went ahead and collected income for everybody. Let's see, the UK. See, the UK has 29. Canada has 5. FEC has 9. Anzac 6, and the Dutch have 6. So that's all they did, and move on to Italy. Okay, Italians and Turkey. So the Italians are building. They're going to upgrade the minor factory in Tripoli, and they're going to build but it's still open, but they're upgrading it. So right now they can only build one, so they're going to build an artillery in Tripoli. this turn. And then they had 2 IPP left. Thought about saving it, but we're just going to go ahead and spend it and do a tech roll, and gotta figure out what we're going to roll for. And then the Turks, so they have a special ability. They're one of 2 nations, I think, that can buy partisans. So they have and with their partisans, they have a special fifth column partisan, and essentially these areas that are adjacent to Turkey, they can get a free partisan roll in them. So like Syria and Cyprus, I think Crete too, Transcaucasia, I think Iraq. But they can roll a partisan there, and if you're familiar with partisan rolls, you'll know that if you have 2 partisans in the territory, they can form a militia. And so what they're going to try to do this turn is they're going to try to, so they're paying 1 IPP for the special partisan roll, and they're going to try to get a second partisan in Cyprus, Syria, and they're going to try to get a partisan in Transcaucasia. If they did that, because right now Turkey is Axis controlled, they can declare. So they're the one nation that's controlled that controls their own destiny in a way. So they're controlled as essentially an alignment, but they could declare war at any time. But however, if they declare war with the French, because the Germans are at war with the French, if they declared war with the French, Greece would go to the Allies, would go to UK. So the Axis don't really want to hand that over to Greece, or hand Greece over to the UK at this moment in time. So that's why Turkey did not declare war on France during the German invasion of France. So even though they're controlled, they could have declared, and then they'd been aligned, and then all this could have been German, but they didn't want to do that. So right now we're going to stay controlled, and we're not going to declare war on anybody. And the cool thing is, if the partisans have an uprising and they take over these territories in the 5th column area, it does not count as a declaration of war because it's partisans rising up. So it's kind of seen more as internal turmoil and civil war, rather than an actual war from Turkey. So like I said, they're going to make 3 rolls in here. So they had 4 IPP. They spent 3 to buy the special 5th column partisan rolls. Well, all right. Well, I want to get this set up and we can go at it. Okay, so went ahead and rolled for the tech roll for Italy, and they missed. They were trying for wartime economy, and they hit a 3, and of course they needed a 7. And then while I was thinking about it, and before we got out of the production phase, I bought 4 supply tokens for Turkey. So they will have the opportunity to send supply to partisans if they don't get a partisan generation roll, if they want to. So just kind of one more option. They may not use that this turn, but just wanted to get that in the bag. Okay, so we're going to do a roll, and I kind of got it halfway set up here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to try to send supplies to the partisans here in Cyprus. So if it's a 1 to 6, they succeed. If it's higher than that, then they fail, partisans eliminated, and the supply is lost. So we're going to try that first. So hopefully we get something less than a 6, and that's on screen still. So that's a 5. So they were successful. So that is great news for us. So they will get 1 supply token added. So next turn, they could use that supply token to upgrade to a partisan if they chose, or they could upgrade to a militia and take Cyprus if they so desire. If the British do not send somebody up there to take care of them, or they're unsuccessful in doing that. So let's see. I think that's the only. Yeah, so that's the only one I'm going to send supplies to. Um, yeah, because we're going to try to do a recruitment. Yeah, we're going to try to recruit in, um, or here in Syria. So for the recruitment is a 1 to 2. A success is 1 to 2. A failure is a 12, and they're eliminated on 12. So see, they do 11. So they just missed, didn't do anything. All right, so that's okay. Tomorrow's another day. So they get their free. So I'm gonna put the Parson tokens right there. So I get one free roll, and then I bought 3 additional rolls. So we're going to roll in Cyprus, in Syria, uh, Iraq, and Transcaucasia. So we're going to do a roll for each of those. So we're just going to start with Transcaucasia, and they generate a partisan on an 11 or a 12. So let's see how we do. Missed. All right. So now we're going to do Iraq. 10. Oh, so close. So now Cyprus or Syria. I'm sorry. 1. And then Cyprus. 12. Wow. So we've really stacked the deck in Cyprus. So we now have 2 partisans and a supply token. So the British are really going to have to work to keep that one from getting out of their hands next turn. So they're going to have to pay some attention to that for sure. Because essentially, Turkey has 2 options here in Cyprus. They can either just straight combine these. If nobody lands on Cyprus, no UK troop lands on Cyprus, these 2 partisans can combine into a militia, and then they'll gain control of the territory. Or even if they take somebody from the UK up here and they take one of the partisans out, well, there's still a supply token here. So once they could expend the supply token to make them a militia. Although militia is probably not going to do much if they take anything up there, but we can just see what happens. Maybe the UK player will get lazy and forget about it. So, well, all right. Well, I think this is going to be it. Going to collect income. Turkey will have 2. Italy will have 11. And then we're just going to place, well, I'll go ahead and place it right now. Place units right there. Really didn't need to move anything for the Italians. Everything's pretty much where I want it at this moment in time. So we will go from there. Oh, and Italy is going to get 3 oil from the Americans. So I'll just add that into their stockpile as well. Okay, so the US KMT turn. Uh, so their purchases here. The U.S. drew their Minority at War token and got the 201st Fighter Squadron, which is essentially a special squadron once the U.S. aligned to Mexico. So whenever that happens, we'll get more into detail with that. And then they bought a strat bomber, an infantry, and then a tech roll, and they ended up rolling for wartime economy and got stage 2. And then the KMT and the US had 17 IPP. And then the KMT had 7 IPP, and so they bought a artillery since the Burma Road's open and an infantry. The KMT is not going to make any combat moves against the Japanese right now, just because we have long established that at that point that they're at the point where it's better for them to fight a defensive war than trying to launch an offensive campaign. So they're just going to hold tight and reinforce what they got. Uh, I don't think there's going to be any non-coms, but if there are, I'll show it. But I'm going to go ahead and cut it off, and then if there is a non-com, I'll make it. But then I'll just show you my place units and collect income. All right. Well, as I thought, there wasn't any combat moves anybody made. So the CCP or the CCP, the KMT added that dude. Where's my pointer? Sorry. Let's see. So the KMT added this dude and this artillery here in Yunnan. I think it's in Yunnan. Either way, I placed it, so that's where it is. And then the Americans put the Strat Bomber here in San Francisco, and then of course they had the Tech Roll, and then they put the other guy down here in Southeast United States, that miner factory there, and collected IPP. The U.S. collected oil. They got 6 oil, so that went straight into their Lend-Lease reserve, and then their Lend-Lease stockpile. And then KMT collected 6 IPP, and the U.S. with a whopping 24 IPP for this turn. So they'll be feeling like kings this next turn, going into 24 IPP to spend. So this was July 39. So I broke it up. I did a separate German video, just because that one took so long. When you're doing the Lightning War and starting out and really getting it teed up, it's amazing how much happens there. And so you can see how it is now, post that attack. France is gone. France has 2 IPP for next round, or Free France do. So the war has started, and the board is starting to change. So it is going to be very exciting to see what happens next round. So we will see you next time in January 1940.